He had it all: fortune, power, beauty, but an accident left him completely in the dark, and it is in the darkness that he discovers something that money could never buy: true love. But fate is treacherous. The woman he chooses to share his life with has a secret that could shake everything. Will he see the truth before it's too late? Stay until the end of this story and discover how blindness can sometimes reveal more than meets the eye. Lucas, a man accustomed to commanding and being the center of attention, was adjusting the volume on his phone as he sailed along the coast on his water scooter. The afternoon was dazzling, with the sky tinged orange by the sunset. The sea breeze blowing against his face seemed insignificant compared to the urgency he felt in the voice of the man on the other end of the line. Invest everything. I don't care about the risks. What matters is the end result, understand? He said firmly, cutting off any attempt to object. The sound of the waves crashing against the hull of the motorcycle mixed with the echo of his words. Lucas disconnected the call without waiting for a reply, a slight smile of triumph appearing on his face. Another deal closed, he muttered, satisfied as he sped off. Suddenly, something caught his eye, a movement in the water. He slowed down, narrowing his eyes to try to understand what he was seeing. On the horizon, an arm was rising and falling, moving desperately. "Damn," he muttered, turning the handlebars sharply. The water bike went like lightning. He had never considered himself a hero, but he couldn't just ignore it. When he reached the spot, he saw a woman struggling, almost swallowed up by the waves. Lucas held out his hand firmly. "Take my hand now," he shouted, trying to sound authoritative. The woman, with her pale face and slow movements, managed to grab his hand at the last moment. He pulled her tightly onto the water bike, feeling her weight, as if she were carrying more than just a body. "Hang on," he ordered, speeding back to shore. When they reached the beach, he dismounted and helped the woman down. Her legs were shaking so badly that she fell to the sand, gasping for breath. "Are you all right?" asked Lucas, now in a softer tone. She looked at him, still trying to catch her breath, and smiled slightly. "I think so. You saved me. I can't thank you enough." Lucas shook his head, uncomfortable with the recognition. "You don't have to. Just be more careful. Reckless people don't last long." The woman remained seated, looking at him with an intrigued expression. "I know you," she said, as if putting the pieces of a puzzle together. Lucas raised an eyebrow, suspicious. "I doubt it. I'm not exactly easy to find around here." She let out a low laugh, mixed with a tone of irony. "No, I know who you are. Lucas, the man who only believes in what he can buy." Lucas frowned but decided not to answer. Instead, he turned and walked back to his water bike. "Take care. Next time, there might not be anyone around to help." He sped away, leaving the woman on the beach with an enigmatic smile on her lips. "Thanks all the same, Lucas," she whispered, looking at the horizon where he was disappearing. Lucas was impatient. His hand gripped the steering wheel tightly as he drove along the winding roads that bordered the ocean. Laura, his fiancée, sitting next to him, seemed indifferent, fiddling with her cell phone with a bored expression. "You don't even bother to listen to me, do you?" he said, breaking the silence. Laura rolled her eyes and sighed. "Lucas, it's not that. I just think you're overreacting. The world isn't going to end if we delay planning the wedding." "It's not just about the wedding, Laura. It's everything. You're always more concerned with how things look than with what really matters." The tension between them was palpable. Laura, impatient, replied in a cold tone, "And what matters to you, Lucas? Work? Business? Maybe that's why you never see what's right in front of you." Her words echoed in Lucas's mind as he turned his attention back to the road. An unexpected glare blinded him for a second. It was too late. The car skidded. The sound of tires singing against asphalt cut through the air, followed by an impact that threw everything in his vision into darkness. When Lucas woke up, the first thing he noticed was silence. Then the smell of the hospital, a mixture of antiseptic and disinfectant. He tried to open his eyes, but all he saw was a veil of shadows. Where am I?" he asked in a hoarse voice. A doctor approached. "Mr. Lucas, you've had an accident. You need to rest. The impact caused an eye injury. The good news is that your life is not at risk." Lucas tried to process the words, but one question consumed him. "What about my eyesight? Why can't I see?" The doctor hesitated before answering. "Your vision is compromised at the moment. It may be temporary, but we need to monitor your recovery." Lucas clutched the sheets tightly, anger and fear growing inside him. "It can't be. I can't stay like this." The following days were a mixture of frustration and silence. Lucas isolated himself, refusing visitors, even Laura. He felt vulnerable, something he had never experienced before. When he finally heard footsteps entering the room, he expected it to be Laura, but the voice was different. "Good afternoon, Mr. Lucas. My name is Anna. I've been hired to help you through your recovery." There was something familiar in that voice, but he couldn't identify what. "Are you a nurse?" he asked harshly. "Something like that. I'm here to make your life easier and make sure you have everything you need," she replied calmly. Lucas snorted. "I don't need a nanny. I need my sight back." Anna wasn't shaken. "Maybe you need it more than you think. Let's start slowly, Mr. Lucas." How many times have you felt like Lucas, lost in the midst of challenges, looking for something to rekindle hope? It was with this in mind that I created an e-book with moving stories, designed to touch the heart and bring inspiration in the most difficult moments. I want you who are here now to be one of the first to receive this special gift. Click on the link and find out how these stories can be the company and relief you deserve right now. Anna carefully adjusted his pillow, while Lucas remained silent. He didn't know that the woman who was now looking after him was the same woman he had saved at sea a few days earlier. And Anna, for her part, knew that this was the only way to get closer to the man who, years ago, had broken her heart without her even knowing it. The first few days Lucas and Anna lived together were tense. He was rude and impatient, refusing any attempt at conversation. "I don't need your help to walk to the chair. I know very well where it is," he said with a harshness that masked his frustration. Anna, however, remained calm. "Very well, Mr. Lucas, but I'll be here if you change your mind." One morning, while he was sitting on the balcony, feeling the breeze and listening to the sound of the waves in the distance, Anna approached with a tray. "I've brought you some coffee. The smell might help clear your mind." Lucas snorted, but couldn't resist. The aroma was strong and comforting. "I don't need you to be gentle with me. I'm not used to gratuitous kindness." Anna smiled slightly. "Not everything in life has to come at a price, Mr. Lucas. Sometimes the best things come without asking." He remained silent, but his expression showed that her words bothered him. As the days went by, Lucas began to trust Anna more, although he was reluctant to admit it. One sunny afternoon, Anna persuaded him to go for a walk in the garden. "Feel the texture of the leaves, touch the tree trunks. You can perceive much more than you realize." Lucas laughed with a touch of sarcasm. "And that will bring back my sight?" "Maybe not," Anna replied, "but it might teach you to see in other ways." He touched a nearby flower, feeling its delicate petals, and for a moment put his frustration aside. "It's softer than I expected," he murmured, as if talking to himself. The trust between the two grew, and Anna began to relax in his presence. One quiet evening, Lucas, in an unexpected moment of vulnerability, spoke. "There's something in your voice, Anna. It sounds familiar, but I can't remember where." Anna froze, her heart beating fast. She knew he had no idea who she was, but his words put her on alert. "Maybe it just looks like someone I know," she replied, looking away. Lucas smiled, but his mind wasn't satisfied. Something in him told him that there was more to Anna than she was letting on. That could be. Or maybe you're hiding something, he teased with a half-smile. Anna laughed softly, trying to keep calm. Me? What could I be hiding, Mr. Lucas? Lucas didn't answer, but the feeling of familiarity continued to intrigue him. For Anna, every day was a challenge to hide her identity, but also an opportunity to be by his side, getting to know him in a way she had never imagined. Laura arrived without warning, making a point of announcing her presence with the sound of her heels echoing down the corridor. "Lucas, love, I'm back." Her voice carried an exaggeratedly sweet tone, which made Anna, busy tidying the sheets, clench her fists for a brief moment. Lucas turned his face towards the door, recognizing the voice immediately. Laura. What a surprise. His intonation was cold, devoid of enthusiasm. "You should be more excited to see me, darling," said Laura, coming up to kiss his forehead. "I've brought you amazing news about the wedding. Everything is going perfectly, as it should be." Lucas remained silent for a moment, his jaw tense. "Perfect, huh? For whom exactly?" Laura sighed, impatient. "Let's not start this again, Lucas. I'm trying to do what's best for both of us. You should be grateful." Anna, who was watching from afar, avoided showing any reaction, but felt the atmosphere fill with tension. "Excuse me," she muttered, trying to leave discreetly. Laura stopped her with an abrupt gesture. "Wait, you're the caretaker, aren't you? Anna, right?" "Yes," replied Anna, in a calm but firm tone. Laura looked her up and down, as if she were evaluating a piece of merchandise. "Good. Keep doing what you're doing. He needs to be in good hands for the wedding." Anna nodded, but her eyes didn't hide the twinge of discomfort she felt. Later, while Laura was discussing wedding details in an incessant tone, Lucas interrupted. "Have you asked me what I want, Laura?" His question cut through the air like a knife. Laura stared at him in disbelief. "What do you want?" "Lucas, we've been together for years. I know what's best for us." Lucas shook his head, letting out an exasperated sigh. "You know what's best for you, Laura. Don't confuse things." Anna, who was passing in the corridor, heard Lucas's words and stopped, trying not to attract attention. That same night, while Anna was adjusting Lucas's blankets before bed, he broke the silence. "Anna, I need a favor." His voice was softer than usual. She stopped what she was doing and looked at him, surprised. "Of course, whatever it takes. I want you to walk me down the aisle on my wedding day," he said bluntly. Anna felt the ground drop away from under her feet. "Mr. Lucas, that wouldn't be appropriate. I don't trust anyone else to guide me," he explained, the sincerity in his voice disarming her. "Please." Anna hesitated, but looking at his face, which now bore such a vulnerable expression, she couldn't say no. "Okay," he replied, his voice laden with conflicting emotions. "I'll be there." The big day finally arrived. The church was adorned with flowers and twinkling lights, the opulent surroundings reflecting Laura's extravagant taste. The guests whispered among themselves, admiring the details, but also speculating about Lucas's lack of enthusiasm in the preparations. Anna stood next to Lucas, his arm resting on hers as they walked slowly down the aisle. "Are you all right?" she asked in a whisper, worried by the tension she felt in his movements. "I am," he replied, although his voice betrayed a nervousness he rarely let show. "Just stay close, Anna. That's all that matters." Arriving at the altar, Anna gently let go of his arm, but before she could move away, Lucas held her hand for a moment. "Thank you," he murmured, squeezing it lightly. She nodded and sat down in the front row, trying to contain the whirlwind of emotions that threatened to overflow. The priest began the ceremony, chanting words about commitment, love, and sacrifice. Lucas remained motionless, his expression neutral. When the time came to respond to the vows, he finally broke the silence. Before I continue, I need to say something. The whole church stood in suspense. Laura, standing next to him, frowned. "Lucas, what are you doing?" she whispered, but he ignored her. "You're all here to celebrate our union, but there's something I need to share. I won't get my sight back. The damage is permanent." A murmur of shock went through the crowd. Laura took a step back, her expression alternating between confusion and indignation. "You knew about this and you didn't tell me?" she exclaimed, her voice echoing through the church. Lucas turned his face towards her. "I needed to see who you really were before I told you." Laura gave a dry, incredulous laugh. "That changes everything, Lucas. I can't spend the rest of my life stuck in this situation." Her voice was full of frustration and contempt. "I have plans, dreams. I can't be dragged down by this." "Then go," Lucas replied, his voice calm but firm. "If the love you have for me depends on my ability to see, it was never real love." Without saying another word, Laura tore off her veil, threw it on the floor and left the church, leaving a trail of murmurs among the guests. Lucas remained still, apparently unshaken. After a long silence, he finally turned to the front row. "Anna, are you there?" Anna, surprised, slowly stood up. "I'm here, Mr. Lucas," she replied, her voice hesitant. "Come to me," he asked, holding out his hand. She walked towards him, her light footsteps echoing through the hall. When they reached the altar, he took her hand firmly. "Anna, you've been by my side in the worst of times. You saw who I really am, and you still stayed. Will you accept me, just the way I am, forever?" Anna felt her eyes water as she looked at him. "Lucas, She took a deep breath, gathering the courage she needed. "Yes. It's always been you." The whispering of the guests turned into spontaneous applause, as Lucas smiled for the first time in months. The sound of the waves breaking gently against the beach was the perfect soundtrack for the day that was unfolding. The ceremony took place in a simple, charming setting by the sea, with only the closest friends and family present. The sun, already beginning to set, painted the sky in shades of gold and orange, reflected in Lucas's smile. Anna was by his side, dressed in an elegant white dress with light fabric that danced in the breeze. Lucas held her hand tightly, as if that gesture was the anchor that kept him connected to the moment. "I never imagined that I would find something so precious in the middle of the darkness," he said softly, so that only she could hear. Anna smiled, squeezing his hand in response. The officiant, standing in front of them, pronounced the words that sealed their union, but what mattered most to Lucas was the sense of peace he had finally found. When it was time to take his vows, he took a deep breath. "Anna, you taught me to see far beyond what my eyes can reach. You have shown me that the true value of life is not in the things we can touch or buy, but in the people we choose to have by our side. I promise to be with you, today and always, whatever the challenge." Anna, moved, reciprocated. "Lucas, you taught me that true love doesn't demand perfection. It accepts, embraces, and transforms. I promise to love you for who you are at all times." When they exchanged rings, the small audience burst into applause and laughter. Lucas leaned towards Anna, and they sealed their commitment with a kiss, while the sea seemed to bless the union with its eternal movement. After the ceremony, as they walked along the sand, Lucas stopped for a moment. "Have you ever noticed that the sound of the sea never stops?" he asked with a reflective tone. Anna looked at him, intrigued. "It's like life," he continued. "Sometimes it's turbulent, sometimes calm, but it's always there, just like us." Anna smiled, interlacing her fingers with his. "And we're going to sail this ocean together, Lucas, no matter what the tide is." The guests began to approach to greet them, but Lucas whispered something to Anna before they were interrupted. "You're not just the light in my darkness, Anna. You're my light in everything." That day, marked by simplicity and emotion, was the beginning of a new phase for Lucas and Anna. Together, they discovered that true wealth lay in the ability to love, accept, and grow alongside someone. And as the sun disappeared over the horizon, leaving behind a starry sky, they knew that their journey together had only just begun.